Going on YouTube, Cloverbell's here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be talking about the new rule set that was just announced for the next upcoming series, or should I say regulation, because now all of a sudden, first of all, they're renaming the series formats into regulations, and it looks like they're following a sort of a letter alphabet kind of thing. So this is going to be Regulation C, which in other words should be like Series 3, and then previously Series 1 and 2 are going to be called Regulation A and Regulation B. Now, that does not mean I'm going to go back into my YouTube videos and start renaming everything from Series 1 to Regulation A and Series 2 to Regulation B. That's a lot of work. I don't need to do that. So I have no idea why they're doing this. Maybe there's some reasoning, but the main part of the rules is that now we're finally getting the Treasures of Ruin that are now going to be legal. And this is the kind of format that we thought we were going to get when the game was first released. And, there was already like a couple of tournaments happening, at the time once the game was released, and people were using the RULESET Pokemon, and then all of a sudden they dropped Series 1, Regulation A, and then none of the Pokemon that we were using were allowed to be used. So then we're like, oh, well, gee. Okay, but now this is the format that we thought we were going to get before, they announced Regulation A, and that basically means now you're allowed to use these 4 Pokemon. We kind of saw this coming, but we're gonna get Chien-Pao back. We're gonna get Chi-Yu, Wo-Chien, and Ting-Lu. So what we're gonna do is talk about these Pokemon, their base stats, their abilities, what they can do, some potential partners and cores, and some team building ideas, of course, because this is what's gonna be happening after a month from now. And if you looked at the post, whether it was Victory Road or some other website, this is 3 months. This is from April all the way to June. This is going to be through EUIC and also NAIC. Not sure if this is going to be through Worlds, but a 3-month format of this. So basically, there's going to be some time for the meta to develop, but at the very least, we can get some initial ideas and thoughts down because 1 month is coming. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these Pokemon. Okay, so let's talk about like Chien-Pao first. So basically, this was the classic combination with everyone's favorite Gen 1 OG Dragon, which we'll get to in a second. But if we take a look at the ability of Chien-Pao, it's Sword of Ruin, which means that your defenses are just only 0.75, right? So you're going to have to factor that in when you're starting to do your damage calcs. And we'll do like a video of how to do those damage calcs when the time comes. But just know that your defenses are being quote-unquote dropped a little bit. And what does that mean? So basically, any kind of physical attacker that is paired with Chien-Pao is going to be doing a lot of damage. But also the main benefit that you can really utilize this that has had some success is those physical attackers with priority moves, okay? But as far as like Chien-Pao itself, so you take a look at its base stats here, 80 HP, 120 attack, 135 speed. The base defenses and special defense are like, okay, they're not like completely terrible. And then the 90 special attack, which we don't even bother with, right? So what's the idea here? So it's a little bit frail. Of course, it's 4 times weak to fighting, but that's okay. You always have terrestrialization to change that. But the main set that most people were running before Series 1 came out, or Regulation A came out, when the game first came out, was a Focus Sash set. Okay, that's Focus Band. A Focus Sash set with 2 dark moves and Protect. So, basically you're trying to fully utilize Chien-Pao's base attack over here with 120 and just pretty much max it out. And then, this was a Jolly set where you just really went max speed and then max HP. And then the attacks that we were considering or were using at the time was this. You had Ice Spinner, which is your main Ice Stab move, which is very, very strong. Then you had Sucker Punch, and Priority Sucker Punch, with the Sword of Ruin ability is actually really, really strong. So, you get that damage reduction, it's stab damage, and if it's super effective, it's probably going to be a very good chance to OHKO something. So, Rip Goldango, this is now our dark type meta that we're in, which means fairy stocks are going straight through the roof, okay? And then this last move over here was something like Throat Chop, for example. But basically 2 dark moves and then the Ice Spinner over here. There were some cases where you were running Ice Shard over the Protect, just for, again, a little bit more boosted damage because of the Sword of Ruin, but more cases were made for Protect. And then you even had something like Sacred Sword as another cool tech option over here. So instead of like maybe Sucker Punch or Throat Chop here, maybe even Protect, you had Sacred Sword in this slot, which is really, really good into like the Dondozo stuff. And if you remember how Dondozo was in this kind of format, it wasn't that super good. So the Dondozo stock actually goes down quite a bit. I think it goes back down to like, honestly, like B tier. before in Series 2, it was like A tier, Series 1 is like S tier, but now it's like in the B tier because a lot of this stuff kind of hinders and neuters Dondozo quite a bit. And believe it or not, if you care to run it, this thing also gets haze. Okay, which is actually kind of funny when you think about it. Remember Palafin also got haze, but now this thing also gets haze, and that's pretty much just going to put the nail in the coffin for Dondozo a little bit, right? It's still going to be strong, but the fact that Chien-Pao just does so much into Dondozo is actually kind of funny. But again, you also have Sacred Sword to also punish that. You know, those defense boosts are just not going to be relevant anymore. But other than that, you know, Protect was also relatively solid. And the physical partner of choice that was very popular next to Chien-Pao was, of course, the Dragonite stuff with Terra Normal, Choice Band, E-Speed, right? I almost said Electric Speed, right? So basically the whole idea was when you put these two together, Dragonite's able to go for Terra Normal, go for straight up Adamant 252, Extreme Speed, and just pretty much one-shot things. And it wasn't fun for a while, okay? Because at the moment, when it was first being used, it was like, oh my goodness, how do we stop this? Because not only can you lead these two, but you can pivot the Chien-Pao in certain scenarios where now all of a sudden they didn't lead originally, but then because you're able to position and pivot, the Chien-Pao can just boost the Dragonite, right? So this is like one of those offensive kind of teams where you just have like Dragonite E-Speed, Dragon Claw, okay, some Terra move like maybe Terra Blast or whatever, and then you just had like two fillers, right? It really depended on your Dragonite set, but I digress. The main idea was the extreme speed stuff, okay? But not just Dragonite, okay? It's basically any kind of physical attacker that had priority moves. So if you imagine like Palafin, for example, I think Palafin stocks are now even more through the roof. Base 160 attack, even more than Dragonite, right? And if this has a Choice Band or even something like Mystic Water, now all of a sudden, you know, your Jet Punch are just hitting for super hard damage. Even like your Wave Crashes if you even decide to go for it. And then you just have like two fillers if you do have like a Choice Band set, or you can do like Life Orb set with Jet Punch. But the idea is still more or less the same. You know, priority move that's physical along with Chien-Pao, just able to go for damage reduction. It just hurts a lot. Other types of Pokemon that have this ability, something like Scizor, you know, with again with Technician, Choice Band, you know, Bullet Punch is also a thing. And the thing with Scizor is because the dark types are through the roof, I think Flutter Mane stocks also go higher, which means you're going to need more steel type coverage, which I think Scizor does relatively well now in it. And I think the Scizor stock also goes up because Flutter Mane stocks are also up as well. So there's the idea there. But you get the concept, right? Some physical attacker with like priority move is actually pretty good. Even something like a Azumarill, right? A Azumarill with like huge power and then Aqua Jet, you know, with this kind of thing with Chien-Pao is actually kind of, you know, intimidating, right? Because, you know, a Life Orb set even, you know, with Protect, Aqua Jet stuff is actually kind of strong. So just any kind of physical attacker, there's like a bunch more, I'm sure. Even like Ceruledge, right? Ceruledge, you know, with Shadow Sneak, can also benefit from Chien-Pao. You know, it's just like a very common team building idea, team building pair to use Chien-Pao with, okay? So there's the idea, and again, it's also really nice with Dondozo. I won't do like a full team build of like something with Chien-Pao. I'll save that for later on once the series actually starts. But just to give you some ideas of what to do, that's a starting point, okay? So let's look at the next RuneNation Pokemon. Okay, so here we have Chi-Yu here, and the ability for Chi-Yu is to basically reduce special defenses, which is really good for you as a Chi-Yu player because now your special attacks are going to be doing super big damage, especially since you yourself are a special attacker. And, you know, Dark Fire type is actually really good. If you consider stuff like the Indeedee armor stuff, that core kind of struggles against the Chi-Yu a little bit because first of all, you're going to resist a lot of their attacks because the psychic damage does nothing because you're a dark type, and then, you know, the fire damage, and then you're just going to deal super effective damage right back because you have dark coverage as well. So this kind of core struggles a little bit with the Chi-Yu. They're going to have to do a little bit of adaptation. But in terms of like a potential partner with Chi-Yu, I think the first choice comes with the Flutter Mane, of course. I think these two are very strong partners just because like type synergy. Ghost Fairy, Dark Fire. What is Flutter Mane weak to? It's weak to ghost types. You got that covered with the dark typing. You're a fairy type. You're weak to steel. You got that covered with your fire coverage. Flutter Mane can struggle a little bit with Goldango sometimes, Goldango gets invalidated a little bit with this dark and fire coverage in general, right? And this kind of starts you off with like a Dragon, Fairy, Steel, Fire, Water, Grass core, in other words, right? And because Fluttermane is another special attacker, the Chi-Yu also benefits the Fluttermane because now you're just dealing even more damage. As if this thing wasn't oppressive enough, now you're just boosting its damage even more because you're reducing special defenses, right? So that's the idea here. And another Pokemon that also benefits along with the Chi-Yu boost is the other Paradox Pokemon that people are also using even more as of late. It's the Iron Bundle, right? Because the Iron Bundle base 124 special attack, 136 speed. Again, you outspeed the Fluttermane itself. So then now, you know, typically these Hydro Pumps and these Freeze Dries, they're going to be doing even more damage, you know, thanks to the Chi-Yu benefit here. And what's also really cool about Chi-Yu, and my favorite move, is actually, believe it or not, Snarl. And Snarl, first of all, it's stab, it's a special attack damage, and you combine that with Beads of Ruin, it's going to do so much. And, you know, think of like, remember when Yveltal was using Snarl? You know, that Dark Aura was just boosting it by doing so much damage. Now just imagine this with Chi-Yu. Okay, now I'm not saying we're making Yveltal Chi-Yu comparisons, but imagine Arcanine Snarls, and now imagine Chi-Yu Snarls. It's just like a huge difference, and I think these three are going to be like a good starting point if you want to use a core like this. And then you just slap on stuff like an Amoonguss, for example, you know, just for like a defensive backbone over here, and then just have like a couple physical attackers along with like Roaring Moon, Tailwind stuff. Like here, like this is something already I could see, you know, with Roaring Moon. Then you just go like Terra Steel just to avoid all the fairy coverage running around, and then just have like Tailwind support, and then some filler over here, right? Maybe something like an Iron Hands, for example. But either way, this is like already a good starting point. You might even put like Chien-Pao over here, for example, or even like Dragonite Chien-Pao, for example. I think that makes a lot of sense. But you know, this is already like a pretty good start. And then if you just go down the list of like other special attackers, you might even find a little bit more. You know, but in terms of like Chi-Yu, as far as like a set, I can definitely see like Heat Wave. I can definitely see something like Dark Pulse, and then something like Will-O-Wisp. You know, that could be a set. And then just have like some item over here. You know, it could be like Life Orb. You could make this bulky with like a berry. One thing that I did consider also, if you don't want to run Will-O-Wisp, is something like with an Assault Vest over here. And then just make this thing like super bulky, right? So take away Will-O-Wisp, all right? And then just go for something like another coverage move. Maybe like Overheat, so like a single target fire move. And then just do like Modest Nature to just deal a bunch of damage. Go the bulky route. So maybe just this much special attack, 176, because you have the benefit of the Beads of Ruin anyway. Just go to like maybe 138 just to outspeed like those Modest Goldangos. And then just make this thing like full HP bulk like this. A little bit of special defense, you know, just to have an even number for the Assault Vest. And then just dump the rest into like physical bulk like this, okay? And this is like basically a bulky Chi-Yu set that's meant to be supportive with like Snarl stuff. But if you want to be more offensive with like a Life Orb, then you can definitely invest a little bit more speed and then some special attack, but then a little bit of HP bulk as well. But again, I'll do more of that along with the EV spreads, like maybe in another kind of team building video as soon as we, you know, start the format a little bit more. But this is a team building idea with Chi-Yu, Fluttermane, and Iron Bundle. The other three slots, if you want to know what I would do, sign up for that tier 3 coaching session. All right, I gotta advertise it. I always do. So if you want me to round out some of these teams with these Ruination Paradox Pokemon, check the video description. You know, we have a link to join the channel if you want a team building session with me. It's a tier 3 sub. It's also in the comment section. Every single video has a join button where you can join the channel, and we organize a Discord call one-on-one, and we build a team from scratch. So this way you can get ready for RegulationC with a very solid, consistent team. All right, but more on that another time. Let's take a look at the other two Pokemon. All right, looking at Wo-Chien, you know, I really like this Pokemon a lot, you know, and you might just say, oh, base 85 attack, base 95 special attack. It's not really doing that much damage. But then you look at the bulk, 100 defense, 135 special defense, and then you realize, oh my goodness, this thing actually could do some late game, you know, wither down stuff like Garganical, the way Garganical work. So basically, here is the thought process. If you look through its movesets, it actually gets something like Leech Seed. It gets Ruination, first of all. It also gets something like Giga Drain, and then you get Protect, right? And if you don't want Giga Drain, if you think the Leech Seed is enough, then you can even go for something like Stab Snarl and just neuter special attacks. But Tablets of Ruin, basically you're reducing attack damage. So that's one thing. And then if you go for Snarl, now you're reducing special attack damage. And then you just Leech Seed everything. And then you just alternate Protects along with something like Leftovers. And then you just stall them out. And because you're neutering their attack and also their special attack damage, depending on the Pokemon, how are they going to break through if you're Wo-Chien, okay? It's going to be very, very difficult, and I would just make this like with super bulk, okay? So imagine like you're already bulking on the special defense side and you're going to go for Snarl. So I would just do it like this. I would just go for a Snarl set, okay? You don't need any attack. Just go for like max HP like this. 192 is really good because you're optimizing Leftovers recovery. You're a nice even number. Then just go to like second EV bump over here. And then just 1 point here just to like even out the spreads a little bit. And then the rest just goes into special defense. Something like this. Just be like super bulky. Spam Leech Seed, spam Snarl, spam Runation. You're dealing half damage, so that's already good chip. Where then you can just clean up with Leech Seed, alternate your Protects. And there's really not much they can really do, especially if you're doing this kind of build with Wo-Chien. And then if you just pair this behind Grimmsnarl Screens, along with like some super strong Dragon type, then I can feel like this would be a very, very good starting point for a balanced core. Okay, but this is the idea with Wo-Chien. Like just stall things out. Again, you might even see Wo-Chien Garganical games. Okay, like Wo-Chien versus Gargan. Who's gonna watch that? All right, any of you gonna be up for watching that on stream where you're just watching Salt Cures versus Leech Seeds and alternating Protects? That's going to be so hilarious if we get to watch that on the regional. I have no idea how long a matchup that would take, but it's interesting, right? Because it definitely could happen, and it will happen. And then you just have to learn how to timer stall if you're going to be playing those kinds of games, all right? But that's one idea that I have with Wo-Chien, and here's, again, this very basic EV spread if you want to use it. But then let's take a look at one of the other ones. Actually, the last one. Okay, the last one over here is Ting-Lu, and just off the top, look at this bulk over here. HP 155, that's like better than Iron. Is that more than Iron Hands? Hold on, yeah, 154, 1 point better. Okay, then you have 110 attack and then 125 defense and then a little bit of special defense. This almost reminds me of like Iron Hands and Great Tusk, where you have triple points in the attack, the HP, and the defense, and then, you know, subpar special defense, although 80 special defense is actually pretty good. And then you're kind of slow with the speed. This is actually really good in those Trick Room teams with like NDD Armroot stuff, because you can outspeed the King Gambits and the Iron Hands, and then the ground typing is actually very good against the Iron Hands. So like I can totally already just see NDD Armroot teams going for this. Okay, and then this is a common partner in the back behind area, because then you can just kind of almost neuter. And then if you have like Terra Grass, for example, then you know you're resisting you're resisting the water type damage, and then the fairy stuff just becomes neutral damage, right? So this is one idea with Ting-Lu, and then even in Trick Room, then the Amoonguss can't even spore it, for example. Vessel of Ruin, special attack damage neutered, so that's really good. This is a perfect Assault Vest item for for this kind of Pokemon. And then you can consider like, oh, what's good against like Indeedee Armors, the Chi-Yu stuff, right? But then Ting-Lu, if you look carefully, it also gets Body Press. So that's really, really strong against like potential Chi-Yu teams that want to come into the Indeedee Armors matchup. You could even do, does this thing get Iron Defense? No, it doesn't. All right, so it just gets Body Press. But like a very standard set, again, with the Assault Vest would be just like Stomping Tantrum, if anything, you know, just your ground coverage move. Then a dark move. What dark move does it get in terms of like coverage? So you do, well, these are all special. You do get Throat Chop and you get Snarl. So Throat Chop is another Assault Vest item, Assault Vest kind of thing that I would have with Throat Chop. And then just some coverage overall. What else does it get? Does get Body Press, so that's really good. You can even consider that. And does it get any other? Oh, it does get Rock Slide. That's also a thing. Stone Edge is another thing. Could even go like Terra Blast, Terra Grass. Zen Headbutt. Well, you know, you don't really want psychic stuff into a dark type of meta. Is there anything else really? Rock Tomb Speed Control could be a move. I could totally see that. But other than that, yeah. All right. So basically, maybe just Rock Slide for something like this, or just even like straight up Runation. Okay. But that's like a different kind of set. But you know, you could definitely do something like this and then just go like Adamant Nature or even like Brave Nature. But if it's Adamant, you know, you're already going to be outspeeding those Iron Hands anyway. And 110 base attack is actually still pretty good. You know, you could just do something like this. And then just 1 point in the HP. You don't even need that much HP. And then just like even 1 point in the speed. That's really, then you have like 344 EVs left to play with. If honestly, you can just max the HP like this, right? And then just put like maybe 1 point or 2 points in the defense, and then the rest can even just go into special defense like this. Like, it's just like a super bulky set. And then if anything, you can put a little bit more into the HP, maybe even something like this where you can get it up to that much. All right, and then you can just put the rest in something like this right here. Let's just even it out for the assault vest, something like this. Okay, I'm not gonna spend like some crazy amount of time on some of these EV spreads at the moment. I'll save that again for later on. But something like this, if you want to run like a coverage Ting-Lu set with like ground coverage, there's your throat chop, there's Brock slide, then there's body press. You know, I think it just does a little bit more damage into some of those other dark types, which is very, very helpful. If you want to consider Runation, you definitely can. But this is one kind of set along with the NDD armored stuff that you can also consider. But it's very bulky. It's comparable to Great Tusk. It's comparable to Iron Hands. Gives you a little bit more favorable matchup into the Iron Hands, not just only relying on Great Tusk. You underspeed it, aka outspeed it in Trick Room, especially against like King Gambit stuff. I can definitely see some use with Ting-Lu. So definitely consider that. And you know, that's pretty much it. So we've covered all 4 of their options, some of their popular movesets, some potential partners that they can have. And again, all these full team building ideas I'm going to save for a little bit later. But if you wanted to get a head start, again, check out coaching on the channel. But yeah, that'll do it for now. I just wanted to give some initial thoughts, some initial ideas. Let me know what you think, is if there's anything I missed or maybe overlooked just off the get-go. Let me know what you're going to try with some of these Pokemon. But yeah, it's an exciting time. I just wish they waited a little bit more before they announced this format, because we still got like a month left of Regulation B, if that's how we're going to keep calling it now. But yeah, we'll be back with another video in the next one, guys. Peace out and have a good night.